Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Simsol webinar. My name is Nicole, and today we're going to be diving into tools to help you become more organized and productive. All right, now we're going to go through the agenda. First, we're going to be talking about tips for organizing your claims. Then we're going to go into Simsol's maintenance features. From there, we're going to go into how to manage your activity log. Then we're going to go into setting up diary groups. Then we're going to be going into adding and editing fee schedules. Then we're going to talk about how to create photo comments. And then we're going to wrap it up with talking about management reports. Okay, now I'm going to pass it over to Danny. He's been with us for over 25 years. He's also have 25 years of being an adjuster, knows the program inside and out. All right, hello, Danny.
Hi, Nicole. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well today. And you should start to see my screen. I should have the Simsol system up and running. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the tips for organizing your claims. And how we do that is being an adjuster, we probably have, can be done in multiple ways, but most of our users actually will create drawers by the storm event if you're a CAT adjuster. And if you're a staff adjuster, then you would do it by month. So you could set up your drawers. So let's see how to do that. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to come up to home. Make sure you're on home, and then you can see that my screen just changed, my main menu just changed here. And I'm going to go over to the drawer section. Now in the drawer section, I'm going to click on new. As I click on new, then I can come up and say that we have a hurricane event. I'm going to call this Hurricane Danny. And that's basically all you need to do to get your drawer in. The other items that you see right up here are the building DB and building factors. On the building databases, this is where you can manually pick your database. Now, Simsol by default will pick the latest and greatest databases that you have. Now, another thing that you might want to do is make sure that you have the latest updates, and that comes up when you first enter the program. Okay, so here we have complete building repair registry in the fourth quarter pricing of 2018. As I select that, it automatically comes up and picks it and goes up to the location markup factor entry screen. Now, when you do this, when you're setting yourself up for, if you're doing a CAT adjustment, you want to make sure that we have this little markup factor. I think it really works well. That is set up in the preferences. It says markup in the preference section. So when you go into the preference section, you're in the system, you can then select that. So this gives me this little window here, and then I can say, okay, I would like to come up and add another 20% to that price. So it's going to give me 120. As you can see, 100 material, 20%. I can do labor, 100, and then also put 20% on there as well as the equipment. And that's how easy it is to actually take control of your database items and place it in your drawer. So any claim that we do from now on in that drawer is going to take those settings. Once we are done, then we can click on done and accept the new factors and exit. So that way you can see there's our verification that we have 120, 120, and 120. And we have it under Hurricane Danny. You can always come up here and edit it. So I'm just going to accept it. So it takes me, as you can see, right to Hurricane Danny. If I ever need to make a change or edit to that, I can then highlight that drawer and then go make sure that I'm on the home screen and then select the drawer to drawer properties. So that's for editing an existing drawer. So as you can see, I can then make my factor change and also add contents database factors if I need to do so. Remember, by default, Simsol will automatically go to your latest and greatest database, which is going to be the complete repair database, which includes the mobile home database, as well as the heavy-duty commercial and commercial light residential. Okay, so just make sure that we want to use the complete repair registry. Then you can come up and play with the factor settings on if you're on a CAT site, or if you're a staff adjuster, you can address those inline prices for your area. okay? And you're going to do the same thing for the contents. So once you have made your changes, all you need to do is click on Done. So now those changes have been affected. Okay, I'm going to come back up here to the claims, this drawer called ClaimsWire Test, because that's where my little test claims are. And I'm going to show you a little trick that a lot of adjusters do not know, or our users do not know. And it's actually sorting your claims grid. This is called the claims grid right here, and it's in the main work area. So if I need to, the phone rings, let's say, and you need to look at a claim or find a claim, I can come over and say, listen, I'd like to move that policy number right over here. So as you can see that I can rearrange my grid or my categories to the grid. So here I have, so if a carrier calls, you can always say, well, we always reference it by policy, and then the insured's last name, and then possibly then the claim number. So you can see by my grid here, I've got the status if it was a mobile claim. Also, we have our file number, policy number, insured's last name, first name, and claim number. So it's real easy to set this grid up. A lot of people don't know about it, but it is available for you to use. Okay, and it also is going to show you your loss date assigned. So that's one little trick that you might want to start using. Another thing is that if you've got a brand new claim, this section probably will not work for you because there's really no photos in here. But if you've got an existing claim, and normally what I like to do is if I got my photos in here, I can come up and highlight the claim that I want and hit the claim photo, and that selects the claim. So I can come over here and say, oh, I know that loss right there. So now you can see it's right. It's actually coming up to the right-hand column, and it has all the nice important information. For example, policyholder's name, claim information, milestone dates, and agency number. So that works out real well. I think that if you set your claim after you've already inspected it and you got your photos in your system, just go back and select the photo that you want to attribute to the loss in question. And then if you ever bring it up, then you can see that loss very easily, and you might not know the insured's last name, but you can sure always tell what the picture of that house was. That's usually what happens to me. All right, so that is setting up your drawers and also redoing your claims grid if you want to, and when you're in the claim, then you can pick the photo, which is kind of nice to have that associated. So that's neat. All right, so the next thing that we want to do in tips in organizing is that I can come up and then select this filter. We have home right here. That's our main menu, and that's where I'm at right now. But if I need to bring up claims, I can come up easily and just picking up the filter, and I can actually do a direct on the actual claim or a policyholder or claim number or our file number. Okay, and if you don't know what that is, then what we could probably do is put in a date for, let's say, a loss date. So this will bring in all the loss date from 2/15. So if I come over here, say I need to do a 2/15, the calendar comes up, and I can come up here and then go back to February 2/15. And then I can bring up any claims that are associated to that, as you can see right here, and through 2/16. So I can vary it from the date of loss or from another one, which is going to be date received. So then as I do that, I can then reselect my dates. So for in this case, I'm going to come down here to February at 2/15, and then you can see it's up to 11/28/2018. So use this. This works really well. If you have the claim phone number, you can actually sort it by that. Okay, and I can click on all. I can click on the day, the week, or the month. So I do have a lot of filtering capability in using this. I can also clear the filters by just hitting the X button. That resets it. Okay, and then I can continue on. All right, so now that I have the filters in there and I found the one I want, I can then just come up and double click on it and then work on the lost. So I'm going to get back to home here for just a second, and as you can see, it takes that filter away, okay? Another thing that you might want to experience is the select all, so in case you wanted to archive a claim. When you're organizing your claims, you have it the way you want it. You might want to back it up, and by using the archiving function, I would like to go into that very briefly. But what you'll do is there are two ways we can do this. We can select all the claims we want to source associated to the archive. Remember, the archive is a backup, and unarchiving is a restore. Okay, so if you get that, that's good. So if I want to just archive one claim by itself, it's real simple. I highlight the claim. So the rule is anything in dark blue, that's what's going to be archived. So as I click on the single claim, I'm going to click on archive. Oh, by the way, if you're using the demo copy, it will not work. Your archive is turned off. It's one of those things that says, yeah, we'd sure like some money from you. But anyways, once you are registered, you have that archive and unarchive button actually highlighted so that you can do the operation. So as I do this, I have the claim I would like to archive it. I'm going to hit the browse button, okay, and then I'm going to place it where I want to put it in. So in this case, I'll put it on my desktop, and then I'm going to call this test packets. Okay, as I do that, I can then hit the tab key and then hit save. Then that puts us into our archive name full path. And one thing I like about the Simsol system is when you're doing the archive, you can exclude the claim photos because maybe that you don't need the photos for this archive, or you can exclude the attachments. Why do we have those there? Is because these two functions right here take up the most room when you're archiving. So if you want the full claim, you do not check those. If you want to limit the claim as far as excluding the claim photos or the exclude attachments, then pick either or of those. Okay. Also, we've added this where it has your file number, plus it tells you what claim is being archived and the total photo size. So I can take and archive multiple claims if I need to. So if I don't have to do one by one, but I can do it by drawer or a selection of all drawers. So I'm only going to do one for right now. I have it selected. All I need to do is click on archive. As I do that, it has now been written to my desktop, and then I can recall it very easily. Okay? So that's how we do an archive of a single one. Now, if I need to do a multiple claim, I'm going to use the combination either of select all, remember the rule, if it's dark blue, it's going. Okay? So if I need to exclude some claims that I don't want, what I'm going to do is hold my control key, and then I'm going to then select the ones I do not want. It will turn it to the original color, and it's not dark blue. So now I can click on archive, select it, and now click on browse. But before you do that, as you can see, there's all the claims selected and the various different sizes. So as I click on the browse button, I can then put it into the desktop, which I have now, and now I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this unarchived. So as I make up the name, I click on save. Now it's going to save whatever is in those files to archive, and there's my button for archive. If you have a solid state, it goes very quickly. So when it clears, your archive is complete. So that's one part of it. Now let's try to bring these back. Okay. We're going to use the option of unarchive. Unarchive, we click on this. So now I can verify that it's in the unarchived window. Click on the browse button. And so now I can say, well, I need to go to where that location is. And if I scroll down, you're going to see it. See the little icons of the printers? And that is the archives that I have in my system for that directory. I can click on, let's say we can click on the test packets, which is that single one. As I select it, click on open, it then brings it up. And then what I usually, you don't really have to do this on a single one, but I always like to click on it or select all, because that gives me my blue, and then I can click on archive and it's bringing it back. What you need to know, this is important, is that if you unarchive the claim, it's going to be placed in the inbox, and so you'll see it right there, okay? Now I'm going to come back to claims wires, and I'm sorry, if I'm in the inbox here, I can then come up and then select that claim and then highlight it, whatever one you have, test packets, and use my move to command and then move it to whatever directory that I want. So that's an easy way of doing that, okay? So it doesn't matter how many drawers you have, it will find it and place it in that drawer packet, okay? If we need to unarchive multiple claims, then I can come up here and click on unarchive, click on the browse button, okay? And then usually what I do is found the directory where it's located, and then I can use the unarchived test, which we just made. There they are. Now at this selection here, what we need to do is, if you need all of them, you hit select all. Or if you only need one of them, then I'm just going to deselect the ones that I don't need. And then the one in blue, remember the rule, anything in blue, that's what it's going to grab. If I need 2 or more, I can then use my control or my shift key, if it's an array claims. So if I use, for example, this number Ford, and I come up and I just want to come down to this McKnight, I could use my shift key and anything in the middle. So it's, you select the first one, and then you select the last one, you hit the shift key, everything will go dark blue, and anything in dark blue, that's where it's going to unarchive. Okay, close this up, and that's it for unarchiving and archiving. So that's kind of nice for the maintenance features. And then we're going to go into some of the tools and maintain operations that I think is really important. Okay, another thing is, if we come over here and we go to there's 2 different categories that we're going to be entering in. One's going to be tools, and then the other is going to be called maintain. That's probably the number one thing. You probably all have set up your claims that way by using the preferences. I'm just going to come up here and just show you real quick. If I come up here to the system preferences, which is right here, this is where you can put your logo in. But what I did want to show you is that enabled location factor markup. I kind of like that checkbox there because it gives me that middle column, and I can then go into the drawer and then or into the claim and assign the location factors, and it will give me that markup, which is really nice. Okay. So that's the preferences. Another one is that contacts, and we've all seen this screen. Basically, it's anything that you want to put in that's not the insured, so it's a big giant Rolodex. Another thing that which is kind of neat, once you have multiple contacts in, as you can see from my screen, is to make a new one. It's real simple. You just click on new, fill these screens out. Okay. But what I wanted to show you is to do a new contact, real simple, carrier, adjustment company, pick the categories that you want, fill the information, and I'm doing this very quickly, and then select that. Now there's another tab that's down here, and that's for your NFIP number if you're a flood certified, or you can put in your state license number. So please remember that. And also your NFIP or FCN number or flood control number. So as we place that in there, then we click on done, and then it will save that for you. Okay. Remember, you can use your new, or if you need to edit an existing one, you highlight it and then hit edit. If you need to delete it, it's real simple. Highlight this Donald Duck because I got a duplicate here. I can then select delete. And now I'm going to select done. to exit that window. Okay. The next section that we're going to be talking about is stored activities. Stored activities. Now, that's working in conjunction with the activity log. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is, if I've got a stored activity log, these are all my activities that I have set for a claim. And then what it'll do is, once I've defined it and when I'm in the claim, I can then go to the activity log and load all these, or load the individual selected activities. So for example, received assignment from adjustment company would probably be my first one. Called the insured, set up the loss in the computer. You put these in so you can put it in one time and use it forever on all your claims. So it's kind of neat for the adjusters, so they can actually just put all these in however they'd like to. And I can always edit it. So I can come up here and say preparing identified preliminary report, select it and click edit. And then I can add to it and says needs to be in by 15 days. Okay, something like that after the data loss. Did you see down here where it has hours, photos, miles, and parking and tolls? These are, if you use this will actually be tied into your billing invoice, in which Simsol does very well. And so if you take this, it can be linked to these. If you're doing a time and expense, you can actually put the hours in, photos, miles, and parking with tolls and any other, and I can make it billable or not billable. So once you get into the stored activities, I can just click on another, which is like clicking new. I can add to the existing. So as I click on done, there it is. I can also delete them as such. So as I click on the done, it's setting up this template for our stored activities. Okay, and you're going to see that when we get into the claim. The custom database items, now this is kind of neat, and a lot of users have never seen this before. They like those custom items, but what you could do is you can put organization in your custom items. So I'm going to click these custom items in here, and you're going to see that I've got some already in there. Now, personally, what I do is I make an alpha numeric category. Alpha numeric category, or numeric alpha, whichever the way you want to say it. But here I broke it down by foundations, floors, walls, ceiling, exterior walls, roof, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. Those are the big major categories that you see. And then from there, I can put subcategories in, but they're already named. You want that, let's say if I want those floors and I want carpeting in, see how it's, carpeting would be set down here. But since it's alphanumeric, what I could do here is click on add. And in this case, I can come up here and type in 110 hyphen, all right, carpet. Now I can have all different kinds of carpeting. And when I click OK, it's now going to place it right underneath my foundations. Well, I made that a mistake, and I did that on purpose. So I actually can come up here and then collect the rename. So here I can take the 110 and change it to 210. So as I do that, click OK, and then now it's under my floors. So I got 210. Or 201, however you'd like to name it, it's in that section. Okay, so that's a little trick that you can use. Okay, so it will follow that. Okay, it will resort when I get out and get back into it. Okay, if I want to come up here to walls one more time, on walls, I can then select add, and now I'm going to type in, let's say 310 hyphen, and then I'm going to say sheetrock or drywall. Okay, so as I do this, click OK, it will now place my drywall under my walls. So you can see how that was done. Okay. So that works out really well. And when I did that, look how it reorganized the 200 floors to 210 carpet. Okay. So if you do something like this, it'll really help you out in your organization. See, when I select these items as a custom, you're going to see these categories being listed. So when I do make a custom item, you'll see it and be appropriately put into a nice category list for you to use. I'm going to click on done to get out of that. And we're going to go into a claim and we will see that happening in just a moment. There's a diagram library as well. So what we could do is this, you can make a different category and then apply your various different diagrams. So if you're thinking about making a typical standard, what we have is let's say a gabled roof. You can make that up as a category and call it standard gable roof. As you can see, I've just named it. Then I can take that sketch once it's in the Simsol system and then assign it to the library under standard gable roof. So that works out real well. It's nice. As you can see, I have something under Mr. Munster. I have a roof, I have exterior sketch, and then I have an interior sketch. So you can use that diagram library and those categories to give it some organization. Diary groups is the next section. And with a diary group, I named mine flood. This is just to name the category. So I can say flood DSA, flood WYO, flood private, and these will pick these diary items pertaining, or you can make up a new diary group for the IA firms. So if you work for multiple IA firms, I can come up here, for example, and call this flood hyphen and then ASA. They might have diary items for certain sections, and we can do that. So as I do that, I've got flood ASA. I can then, that'll be my group, I can then come up here and hit single add. And I've already had some in there. So prelim due with carrier, final report adjusting company. I can then edit this if I need to, but I can add all these and hit it to the send and attribute it to the ASA group. So for example, I have prelim due. I'm going to just final report, mandatory claim submittal, and status report. I then come up and so this is already in the system. If I need to, let me just click on done to get out of this and go back in there. If I need to look at one of these and maybe modify it, okay, or add a new one, I can simply just come up and click on new, put it on date by data loss or date received or date assigned. How many diary days do you need this? Maybe 25. Second status needed on report. Or file. So as I do that, I can place in my comments. Remember ABC, it's right there. And then actually I might want to put in, for example, change to a period and add and change it. Okay, so there's my second with my period on there, and now I can click on another and another and another. Okay, there's my second one. So if I need to attribute now, if I need to attribute that to the flood ASA group, I can then select this, whatever one I want. Remember what the rule is. Dark blue will take it and place it in there. I then select send, and I select the activities to the group that I was in, and there it is. Okay, and it's assigned, as you can see, flood ASA. So if I'm ever in a claim, like a prelim, or when I'm in a claim, I can then come up and hit that ASA flood and then pick the ones I want, and it'll attribute those activity logs to the file. Works out real well. And then there's the other one. I'm going to get out of that. So first of all, it will tell you the assigned group, and then after you do that and hit done, it will tell you what all the groups are, and then you can make your choice from there. Okay. So that is our diary groups. Okay. We get this issue all the time, the fee schedule. Where does the fee schedule come in? Do we have a fee schedule or activity schedule? You can come up and you can select it. Now, Simsol by default, okay, will upload, or when you get the updates, will upload brand new fee schedules if applicable. So you don't really have to worry about that unless you need, there was something that came out and we didn't get it to you in time. You can then come up and then select the latest and greatest fee schedule. So as I do that, double click on it, and then I can make my change. Now, what's nice about this is I can come down, and you can see that if I've got 50,000 to 125,000, it could be 3% or 1750. Now, if you need to make a change to it, highlight it, hit edit, click the edit button. And then from that, I have it fee or percent, or you can select the fee or percent individually if you need to do so. I'm not going to really go in there and change that, but I do have the ability to do so. Once you've changed it, click on done and you're good to go on that. Click on done to get out of that. So that's our fee schedules. Okay. So my last thing, I got about 15 minutes to go here, that I'd like to show you is going to be under manage, and it's going to be, sorry, correction, it's going to be under tools, and it's going to be called management reports. And I really like this because this is an ad hoc generator and you have so much control over this, okay? And what I'm saying is if I need to come up, and I already have one in here, but I can put in the available groups. When I click on the available groups, this is what I'm picking to make the report up, okay? So the first thing I need to do is name it. I can name it anything that you're looking for. I can be drawer specific, or I can click on all, okay? And then from that, I've got to pick the available groups and fields in order to print it out. So for example, I already have one done. So let me come up here and hit recall. And that is called my open claims. I did the same thing, click on done. And I brought this in here. So if you define the report first, save it, then I can always bring it up on the recall. So I got all drawers. I'm going to come up here and select the filter. So there's my range. Okay, so I can click OK, or I can change it. And from here, I got carrier name, data loss, building gross estimate. So those are my categories. Okay, now how to get those categories in those fields in this report, I need to select them from the available groups. So for example, if I need the dates, from the date, let's put, not today's date, but let's say the date assigned maybe. Okay, so I can come up here and select that, hit add current fields, and say, well, I want that first. So I can actually put the date assigned, use the up arrow and place it right at the top. So I have a lot of flexibility with this report. So as I pick these, and then once I've picked them from the available groups and pick the available fields, I'm going to come down here to column properties, because here with this red, it's going to truncate that date assigned. Okay, I'm just going to say assigned. Just like that. Then with that, I can actually make it wider if I need to. I can shade it. So if I want 10%, I can shade it 10%. I can justify it either in the center, the left, the right, okay? And normally what I do, guys, if I need to go to the building gross estimate, which is here, I can then come up and name it to whatever I need. And so I have it mine set to building gross estimate. I'm going to take that, and let's say that I only want do a 20% shade, and I'm right justified. Okay, so that means that my figures are going to go on the right. Do I want the running totals and also a run average? I can do that. I'm just going to say running totals at the end. So this is really a neat generator. So as I do that and get that all put in, I can then come up and click the print button and then click print preview. So when I do this, this is actually formulating the report. And there is my report. I can actually create more width of this if I need to. There's my final totals. I've got my contents and then my building gross totals. So these are all my open claims. That says ad hoc report. I need to name it open claims, and it'll come up right there. It's a number of 227 claims in all the drawers. And as you can see, there's my data signed, my carrier, data loss, building gross estimate, contents, and final. So that you can make unlimited amount of different types of reports. Before I leave this, I'm going to come up and hit store. And then I can call this modified open claims, click on done. So now it's going to take my settings that I have allowed for. And then when I bring it back up, it will have that. Remember, I can set the filter from the data loss, all different types of categories for setting the filter in. Okay?
All right. So thank you everyone for attending. We're going to be following up with the survey and also a link to the recording of the webinar. If you do have any questions for us, please contact us. Our information is there on the screen. All right. Thank you everyone and have a wonderful afternoon.